So far we have seen about the rise of middle class in the world context, on how the industrial revolution as a concept came and gave rise to the emergence of new middle classes in the form of doctors, in the form of engineers, in the form of traders, in the form of business people, in the form of factory workers, factory white collar workers. We have seen the meaning of the white collar workers also. So traders, business, white collar workers, lawyers, engineers, all these people are considered to be the middle classes after the industrial revolution in the context of the world. So how the concept of middle class came to India? So this is one interesting point we have to look at, on how the whole rise of new middle class happened in the context of India. So this the class of the middle class people are the intermediate class between the aristocracy and the commoners. వీళ్ళిద్దరి మధ్యలో ఉన్న క్లాస్ మిడిల్ క్లాస్. Aristocracy means the rulers. Commoners are the poor people. These are poor. So the intermediate class in between the aristocracy and commoners are the middle classes. So these middle classes sometimes called as petty bourgeoisie. Petty bourgeoisie. So please keep your attention on these kind of terms, because this middle class as a topic is given to you in the syllabus is because the role of middle class is very high in the emerging economies, as we have seen. So there may be questions posed on the topics like which of the following class is middle class? Bourgeoisie, proletariat, petty bourgeoisie, white collar workers. Ila questions vastayi. Our terms, because these terms are not used off late, they are used very regularly by the economists and sociologists. So petty bourgeoisie, white collar workers, these terms are very important to attempt the multiple choice questions. So petty bourgeoisie and white collar workers, these are the two middle class groups, famous middle class groups. Petty bourgeoisie means the shops owners, traders, stock brokers. These are the petty bourgeoisie. So these groups are very importantly called as middle classes in the historical context. And the white collar workers, as we have seen, these are the skilled labor simply. The blue collar or manual laborers. Manual means they are not skilled, manual or unskilled. So petty bourgeoisie and white collar workers are the middle class. So these middle class are in the middle of social hierarchy. So they are also in the middle of the social hierarchy. They are not BPL, they are not rich, they are in between. So they are just APL, above poverty line. And one more important thing is, the conception of middle class is not as simple as we think. So we have lot of meanings for the middle class. Some people who are having crores of property, few crores of property, also say they are middle class. I mean, the people who are earning 20,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees per month also in the context of India, they say we are middle class. So middle class, the spectrum of middle class is very big. So we cannot easily I mean below poverty line is a easy conception because it is based on the calorie intake, and the below poverty line is constructed by the government, 2400 calories in the rural, 2100 calories in the urban, 13 rupees per day income. So this is very easily strategically given. But whereas the middle class, there is no clear definition. So middle class as a concept in itself is the large spectrum, big spectrum. The spectrum is very big of the middle class. So in India, this middle class is also middle in the social hierarchy. So middle class. So this growth of middle classes is one of the highest. Growth of middle class is one of the highest in the context of India and China of late, from the year 2000 to 2015. So not forgetting the idea of how middle class started in India, let me go back to that point. So the whole lot of middle class in the context of India started with colonization. Colonies. So how middle class started in the world context, the middle class as a concept started because of economic and technological reasons. But in India, the concept of middle class started because of other reasons like colonization. Okay. In the context of the world, the reasons are economic and technological. How we have seen how industrial revolution, machines, technology, right? Spinning jenny, printing press, all this we have discussed so far. So world context middle class started because of the economic and technological reasons, two important reasons. Number one is economic, number two is technological. But in India, the reasons are something different. When India became colonized, basically the Britishers, one of the important force in the colonization is British. So when British came to India, they brought themselves the goods. I mean, Britishers are omnipresent in India from 1600 to 1947. You all know that. But 1857 to 1947 is the major period. You know history better than me. So this industrial revolution in the context of Britain happening at the same time when India is the colony of British. We all say that British has plundered the wealth of India, and we also say that they have looted our raw materials for the industrial development of Britain. So we have just spoken about how industrial revolution is a very big hit and become a very big process in the context of Europe and especially in the Britain. So one of the suppliers of raw material for the development in the Britain is India. One of the, not the only country where we supply raw materials, but there are many other countries as part of colonies to the British. So one important colony is India. So the Britishers have laid down railways. They have invested in the plantations. As you all know how that whole story of Indigo Revolution became a very huge issue, and railways, how Britain has laid down the railways to transport the raw materials to the Britain. And interestingly, they say that the Manchester, which is a very important textile hub of Britain, is actually based on the fine cotton that is grown in the context of India. So all the industrial revolution that has happened in the context of Britain is back supported by the India, by the raw materials that we gave. So here we are speaking about the link on how middle class rised in India. So this is one link. The second link is all those goods, all those fine goods that are manufactured in the factories of Britain as the consumer goods came again back to India. Back to India. So simply what has happened, it has become a round tripping. Round tripping. What is the round tripping? This round tripping concept is there in the FDIs. It is an economic concept. If you see in economy, there is round tripping, how our people will invest in the name of foreign companies within the, again in India. So that is round tripping. So here also we have given our goods to the Britain, raw materials to the Britain. Britain has made them the finished goods, finer goods, and again they brought the same goods to India for the market. And India here is a supplier of raw material, market for the finished goods, market for the finished goods. So now Britain want to sell that goods, for example textiles, cloth. So where they will sell? They will have these countries, underdeveloped countries or developing countries, where it is the market for their finer goods. So this round tripping is the thing that has happened in the late 18th century. So if you remember one of the important movement, the Swadeshi movement, this movement has happened because of boycotting of foreign goods. For example, textiles. If you remember the pictures and the scenes of the Swadeshi movement, all the freedom fighters, they will bring all the foreign clothes and put in a fire pit in the streets. So that is the story, basic story. So Swadeshi movement has happened against the goods which is bought from the Britain. So this middle class, there is a great link here on middle class. So middle class is there in the Indian context to consume that goods. So middle class as a concept also is based on consumerism, what they will consume. So what happened when British came to India, they want people who are educated. Simple, they want people who are educated to maintain their administration, to maintain their army, to maintain their cantonments, to maintain their accounts, to look after their travel, etc. So like this, to do research on the society, to actually work, to translate. At least the basic thing is to translate. British will not know Hindi and local languages, no. So there need to be some person in India who know English. Simple. So Lord Macaulay has brought English education. So English education, English. If you talk about middle class in India, Indian middle class, there is a great link with English language. English language and middle class has a inheritance link. So until then we have lot of landlords in the context of India, we have zamindars in the context of India, and the workers, bonded laborers, all these workers, agrarian laborers in the context of India. So when British came, some people who are part of the workforce with the zamindars, with the landlords, slowly few of them started learning English, because there is a great demand for the people who know English in the British, the team of British. So they are getting jobs easily if they have English language. So what happened? So here, when the jobs are available, when these railways, plantations, education, administration, in all these areas, they have appointed many people, the locals also. In the army, for example, in the army, you know the whole story of this, how Mangal Pandey, 1857 revolt and all that. So all these people who worked in the British army, these groups have formed the middle class because they have the stable income. They are paid in salaries. If at all a person is a bonded labor in the colonial time, with a jamindar, they will never be paid a salary. They are paid only in kind, I mean the food or grains. But here the British is paying salaries, fixed salaries. So they have got a level of financial stability. That financial stability led to the consumerism. So consumerism means they are able to buy some finished goods. For example, fine cotton, I mean dresses, I mean the attire. So today we are using all the Western attires, Western coats and I mean the blazers, everything. So all this came from this tradition of how Britain bought the finished goods from the West. So the whole concept of middle class came into India with the colonialism and specifically with the British. That is the point here. So all this group of people, the traders, the accounts officers, administrative staff, and the army personnel, all these groups formed the middle class in the Indian context. Ikkada manam white collar workers, engineers, lawyers, etc. in the world context. Same with India also, but specifically our reason is colonialism. So there may be a question asked to you on which of the following is the reason for the growth of middle class in India. One reason is colonialism, British. Major reason, which is a major reason, British. So you know how this concept of Indian Civil Services, ICS, Indian Police Service, IP, I mean Indian Police, all these services came into existence because of the British. So what happened? All these classes today are middle class. Middle class. So right from colonial period to today's globalization, there is a link for the growth of the middle class. Even if you see today's tertiary sector, service sector growth in the context of India, all the well English learned communities, the states of Karnataka, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, these states are very forward in getting the fruits of technological revolution and also the IT revolution, information technology and software revolution, is because they have huge human resource, English educated human resource in a large number, in an abundant number. That is where they can adopt, they can acquire, they are actually captured these states have actually captured, I mean they have take the advantage of the developments of the IT revolution. Similarly, when Britishers were bringing all this new technologies, new professions, new jobs, new services, so English learned groups slowly adapted to that and they have become the middle classes. So the rise of middle class in India, the root for the rise of middle class in India is there in the colonialism. So today also all these groups, basically, and one of the important reason after the 1991, the growth of middle class in India is LPG reforms. LPG is not liquefied petroleum gas. LPG is liberalization, privatization, globalization. So because of this, a large growth in the service sector happened. So service sector gave rise again to the large growth of middle class. So globalization at one level, English education at one level, Britain at one level, these are the reasons for the growth of the middle classes in India. So according to the NCAER, National Council National Council for Applied Economic Research. 267 million, 26.7 million. I mean nearly 27 crores. 27 crores of population today in India is middle classes. 27 crores, 27 కోట్ల మంది ఈరోజు ఇండియాలో మిడిల్ క్లాసెస్ అనే గ్రూప్లో ఉన్నారు. అండ్ ఇంట్రెస్టింగ్లీ దిస్ నంబర్ ఈజ్ గోయింగ్ టు బి డబుల్డ్ బై 2025. By 2025 it will be more than 50 crores. So that is the level of importance, that is the level of population that is there in the middle class of India. So according to NCAR data, 267 million population is the middle class in India. So how do we differentiate between the BPL and the middle class? Major thing is income, education and taste. Taste is also one important concept. There is a sociological thinker called Pierre Bourdieu. Remember the name. Pierre Bourdieu talk about social, cultural and economic capital. Just like capital is an economic concept, it is also a social and cultural concept. In the cultural concept, there comes the taste. Taste means what? Supposingly, a rich person's taste is different. They will eat a Belgian waffle, or they will eat a different dish, pasta, different types of dishes. Even I am middle class, so I will not be able to give you examples on the rich people's food. So interestingly, the taste of, I mean, you will be studying in a state school or a central syllabus school. They will study in ICGSE, International Baccalaureate kind of a school. International schools means the curriculum will be international. I mean, international schools is not just a name. International school means our state syllabus is based, I mean state state level of boards will be there in your state capital. CBSE board will be there in the Delhi. But International Baccalaureate is also a board which is based in the Britain. So they will study in that syllabus. So taste matters. Taste is different. So similarly, the taste of middle class is different. We have just spoken about the rich class taste. Similarly, middle class can afford a type of taste. So sending their children only to the English medium schools, looking for a good income job, consuming the best of the products available, consumerism. So these are some of the facets of the middle class in India. So the major features are income, education and taste. So these are some of the important concepts in the middle class in India. So according to NCAR, tomorrow our population of middle class will be more than 50 crores. So Pierre Bourdieu, social, cultural and economic capital and symbolic capital. One more capital is symbolic capital. So this also can be asked to you in the multiple choice questions in the middle class concept. So next we are going to see the features of the middle class in India. So now I hope you have known about how the emergence of middle class happened in India because of the British, the onset of British and the onset of various aspects like plantations, the railways, the jobs, the clerical jobs, the civil services jobs. Today if you see an aim of any good student in India is becoming a civil servant. So this whole concept of civil services, the whole concept of IAS came from British. The colonial mindset we still hold today. There is so much of fascination towards the government job is because of the colonial mindset that we have, which is based on the middle class, I mean the Britishers. So it is simply a middle class mentality. So middle class, so if you ask me how to define a middle class, as simple as that, in a general way, Those who are aspiring to get a stable income and a government job, simply a government job is a middle class person. So middle class is characterized by these aspects of the stable income, good education and a taste. Education is also one of the important matter. Today if you see, the state sponsored education is very much freely available. Government school state sponsored education is freely available. But our people will not be happy with the state sponsored education. They want private English education, because the lower classes, the downtrodden classes, the below poverty line communities, to be very specific, the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, other backward classes, minorities, communities, they see education as the only way out from the poverty, from the below poverty line. Because with education they get employment, with employment they get stable income, with income they will be climbing the social ladder of the class, from poor class to middle class. So there is a concept called social climbing, social sinking, social climbing, social sinking. So social climbing happens when you get education. Simple. If you see, these are the concept in the social mobility. So social mobility concept lo ee rendu vastayi, social climbing, social sinking. So social climbing happens when you have a ladder. That ladder is education for these downtrodden communities. Which are the communities? Scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, other backward classes and minorities. Now we have EWS, economically weaker sections. So these communities look at education as the only weapon or only way forward to do the social climbing. And that is, the social climbing happens for the middle class, from the BPL, from below poverty line to the middle class. So income, stable income, government job and education, English education. Simply English is one of the feature. Why English is so much respected today in the Indian society? Because English will give an opportunity of jobs, skill. English is considered to be skill. Even after 75 years of independence, we still have the colonial thinking, because they have ruled, the colonial masters ruled India for over 200 years. So definitely we have a lot of inclination towards the mindset that we have, that is given from the colonial times. So English education is considered to be superior even today, because even if you see the IT sector jobs, the BPO jobs, the globalization jobs is based on English education. So middle class, one of the important feature of middle class, how this is useful for you in the exam for MCQs, consider the following features of middle class: income, education, English education. So English education is one of the important feature, because even today Indian parents believe that English education is a must for the social climbing, in the social stratification. With English education comes the opportunities, with English education comes the social power. If you see all the middle class today, all the job seekers, all the white collar workers, they are skilled with English. So income, education and taste. Taste also, again, taste means the culture. Culture we have food, dressing, rituals, etc. So taste, the taste of the middle class is definitely a feature of how they think. So this is how British is a reason for the, one of the important reasons for the rise of middle class in the context of India, and how the white collar workers is considered to be the middle classes in the context of India, and how the features of income, education and taste are the yardsticks for looking at the middle classes in the context of India. So, according to the National Council for Applied Economic Research, by 2025, 50 crore population will become middle class. Now it is 27 crore. And one important number is the growth of middle class is highest in the developing countries like India and China from 2000 to 2015, in this 15 years. So, India and China is considered to be one of the countries, biggest countries hosting the highest percentage of middle classes, India and China. And next we are going to look at the features of the middle class.